Tengo la mielcita. Tengo la mielcita. Tengo la mielcita.
Ah, se me cayó la miel.
Qué verga. Está gaga.
¿Por qué? Ya está, renuncio a mi trabajo de fotógrafo. ¿Pero por qué? ¡Culeado!
Bueno, porque hay que saber.
A ver, ¿qué está mal, boludo? Yo tengo mi ojo, man. Yo tengo diferentes ojos, no es que... A mí me gusta lo flashero, así, lo que rompe la estructura, ¿viste? A mí no me vengan con esas reglas ahí de composición. Yo soy anti-regla.
Like, that's actually massive big dick. Now I just need to use it.
Yo después te voy a mostrar mis buenas fotos, boludo.
Fuck, it's the dog. The dog is way harder.
Oh, dejo atrás todo. Que me chupen bien la verga. Oh, que viene este iPad. Te amo, iPad.
That does a lot. Pretty good. Shit. Yeah, we had the ultra finisher. Yeah, I don't think I should have used it. I should have saved it on this. This is an ultimate bow. Okay. We gotta get on this guy. This guy's an elite cocksucker, so you have to be really careful.
Muchos días,
How
boludo.
is it hitting? Yeah, I hit him with that. Oh, at 200. Yeah, this bow is massive.
Are you ever wrong and admit to it? Yes and yes, very famously so. Even though there is no benefit to admitting that you're wrong ever. It's not even remotely beneficial, and people yell at you all the time, regardless. The most famous instance of me being wrong about Putin will never invade Ukraine. That's far too insane for him to do. It would be devastating. Anyway, I think I know what your problem is. Is this the same computer that you brought to Japan? No, chatter, this is my normal desktop. Yes, the analysis was sound, the prediction was off. Sometimes your insults are a bit graphic for my brain, fair. Another one, I think, is something I've thought about a lot. It's the Ukraine stuff and my initial reaction to ReactGate. I corrected you over something tiny linguistically, but it made a difference and you immediately backtrack. Respect where respect is due. 3 years of wrong prediction though? What do you mean?
¡Hey! Ah, cierto, voló.
I think that Ukrainian war is 3 years. What do you mean? I'm confused by this. The people who think this about you are clip watchers? Yeah. Yeah, Bernie's healthcare donors are people that work in the healthcare sector and people that work in medicine, people that work in the pharmaceutical companies, all the way down to like, when you're donating to a political campaign, you say where you work, you write your place of business, like you write your employer, okay? And then it gets logged as being from that sector. You were wrong about closing a podcast with a certain someone, but that's more of a hindsight 2020 kind of thing? Yeah, no, that's not. Anyway. There's a lot of chatter about donations to Bernie Sanders' 2020 presidential campaign from the pharmaceutical industry. To be clear, our data on industry giving rolls up contributions from individuals who work in the industry and PACs. Corporation cannot donate to campaigns. So that's the problem. People see that and they think they understand the situation, and they think that Gaia, place. Good. Okay, well, I'm glad I have it. Did you miss your Zen? No, I was able to make it work. The top blue check reply doesn't even know how political donos work. How do we know when pharma employees donate? Oh my god, dude. I'm losing it. Like, so much of American political discourse revolves around, I don't know a certain thing, and now I'm gonna make it your problem. Like, that's just what this is. I don't know how something works, and it's actually your fault. And I'm not gonna search. I'm not gonna learn. I'm not invested in the truth at all. And it's your issue now. It's your fault now. I think you are wrong. I think you were wrong about the streamers work harder socially than other professions. I get what you were trying to say, but try being in the service industry, big dog. I know your job is hard, but there are a lot of benefits that others don't get with the same amount of burnout. I need you to understand that, and I think you do, and you pulled back and self-corrected a little bit. I think that was big of you. Wait, what? No. You can't say I think you're wrong and then literally then repeat what I said. No, that doesn't count. Okay? What the hell? See, there are instances where I think, I say things incorrectly, okay? But then there are also people that literally clip me entirely out of context, and then Brigade, and then, Keemstar and the like jump on it. It's like coming in here and being like, you're wrong, big dog. I know you've been a massive advocate for profit healthcare, but honestly, I'm glad that you're finally coming to the conclusion that, like, profit should not be in the healthcare sector. Like, that's ridiculous. I mean, about how your job is harder, I know, and I never took you as that. I think the easiest way to understand my position on this is that I don't work any other job. This is what I do. I have the freedom to be able to go and work another job. If I thought it was easier to do that job, I would do that job. Okay? That's it.
That's fucking it. But that's it, bro. That's it. That's it, bro.
Anyway.
¿A qué hora entras?
Struggle session right now where chatters bring out every one of your
¿5:30?
clips they saw out of context now. I know.
No, sí, a las 5:20.
Uf.
Cuando me salga, yo tomo. Ok.
Está muy bien.
Sí, manda ahí una
Está muy bien.
Man, you got people talking shit then apologizing to themselves for you so you don't have to do shit, Lamau? What do you mean? Anyway. Have you seen the news on the White House Faith Office? No, I have not. I know you don't do it for the money, but I'm wondering if you would stop if you didn't get as much money as you do now. I mean, for many years before I got to this position, I wasn't making much money and I still was doing it with no clear indication that I would ever be this successful. I never assumed that I would get to this level of success on this platform, and I still did it. Also, even right now, I could just quit, but I don't. And the reason why I don't, so depressing, Chuck Schumer ripped by Democrats for Musk protest. Okay, wait, why is everything in italics now? What is going on with my fucking computer, dude?
Senator Sanders joins us. Now, you talk about an oligarchy running the White House, you have billionaires.
How did everything turn into italics? Even the caption. I don't know what's going on, but my shit is fucked up. Bro, even my captions are leaning right, dude. I'm on the right side of my camera, captions are leaning right. I don't know what the hell is going on.
Now currying favor with the new administration, donating to the presidential library, the inauguration, making deals with family members of the Trump family. How far are we from a kleptocracy?
Well, let's start with oligarchy, and I think we are there. When you see three of the richest people in this country, the three richest, standing behind the president when he gets inaugurated, when you see Elon Musk, who contributed over $200 million to 70 to get Trump elected, and then becomes in many ways the most important appointee of the Trump administration. And when you see, since Trump's inauguration.
Software dev, computer guy, what the hell did you do to your computer? I've never seen this out of the 12 years. I've never experienced this issue before. And I don't think a single chatter has ever experienced this issue before as well. Like, all of it. What Musk is doing is illegal. The title is in italic. It is in italic. I don't know what it is, but I don't really care. Whatever.
Elon Musk becoming $150 billion
Twitter is not.
richer. In 2.5 weeks, $150 billion richer. You tell me whether or not we are living in an oligarchy. And I think
Ya fue, culiao.
of government under Trump, under Elon Musk, will not be to serve ordinary people, but to make the very richest people in this country even richer.
There are probably some people watching who think, oh, Elon Musk, smart guy, he's got these 19, 20-something-year-old tech wizards going into government and looking for waste and abuse, and what's wrong with that? What is wrong with what is going on?
Nothing wrong with looking for waste and the kinds of bureaucracy that exists. I think we can do a whole lot to get rid of the waste, the fraud, the excessive bureaucracy that exists in government, especially, by the way, in the Defense Department.
You did the same interview, you got the same amount of motion as Anderson Cooper, my goat. I did it for 30 minutes. Anderson only gets Bernie for 7.
What is wrong right now is one simple reality. What Musk is doing is illegal and unconstitutional. You cannot go into an agency like USAID and essentially fire everybody and get rid of that agency. You cannot do that's an agency that was created by Congress. They want to get rid of USAID, fine. Come to the Congress, make your case. You can't do it unilaterally. You cannot withhold U.S. funds that were appropriated for Medicaid, for community health centers, for Head Start. You cannot put a freeze on that. That money was appropriated by the Congress. And as I hope every fourth grader in America knows, Congress holds the purse strings. And what I also worry about is not just the movement toward oligarchy, but this growing trend.
When you ballin' with Bernie, I'll figure it out soon.
I hope the American people are seeing clearly that we had the January 6th rioters, the people who were trying to, in a sense, overthrow an election, undermine democracy, contributed to the injuring of 170 Capitol Hill police officers. They are pardoned. And then the FBI agents who worked hard to make the case, doing what they are told, they are now being investigated. What is the future of the FBI? Is the criteria to be an FBI agent in the future one who swears allegiance to Donald Trump and one who upholds the Constitution and the rule of law? And I'll tell you something else in terms of authoritarianism. And this is something that you and other people in the media should pay attention to. ABC paid a fine to Donald Trump, presumably for saying something that he didn't like. Meta, owned by Zuckerberg, paid a $25 million fine to Trump. Right now, Paramount, that owns CBS, is contemplating reaching a settlement with Trump. He has sued the Des Moines Register. The FCC is now investigating PBS and NPR. That is a movement toward authoritarianism when you go after and intimidate an independent media. So you add it all together, we're moving toward an oligarchy, we're moving toward authoritarianism, and in terms of kleptocracy, well, what can I say? Before he got inaugurated, Trump and his wife issued coins. They made billions of dollars. Anybody can give to the president, in a sense, by buying those coins. So the American people are going to stand up and fight back, or else we're going to be in real trouble.
We had a historian, Doris Kearns Goodwin, on last week who talked about Andrew Jackson corrupting essentially government employees, giving out favors to people who curried favor with him. He gave them civil service jobs, and it took generations in America to correct that. And it took Teddy Roosevelt being the civil service commissioner for 6 years to really root that out and get a civil service that served the American people and not whoever was in power. The damage being done potentially, people think, oh, well, you know, maybe it's just going to be 4 years. The damage can be done, can be for generations.
Anne,
Right. I mean, it goes without saying, and I think the overwhelming majority of Americans want a strong, efficient, independent civil service. We can make improvements. I am not here to tell you that we don't have a bureaucracy, that we don't have waste. We do. We got to work on that. But you don't get rid of thousands and thousands of dedicated public servants and replace them with people who are simply loyal to Donald Trump. That's not the way democracy is supposed to work.
Let me just quickly ask you on Gaza. When you heard the President of the United States talking about turning the Gaza Strip, I mean, getting 2 million Palestinians out, I mean, as anybody who has read history or the region or been watching for the last year, do you think this was a joke at first? I mean, can you believe?
Look, one could say that, Anderson. On the other hand, given the suffering that the Palestinian people have gone through under Netanyahu's brutal war, which has killed at least 45,000 injured, over 100,000, mostly women and children, the idea that the President of the United States is going to say to these people, oh, by the way, you're going to have to leave the place where you live because we are going to build something equivalent to the French Riviera.
Well, also the thugs of Hamas are still there. I mean, it's not as if they have gone.
To say, but even that's right. So, you know, and you just discussed a moment ago, how do you do that? Are American troops involved? How much money is being spent? But the idea of telling 2.2 million people who live in an area, you're gone, we're going to build the French Riviera here so my billionaire friends can enjoy the beautiful view. It is, to say the least, preposterous. It ain't going to happen.
To the fallout from President Trump saying that the U.S. would...
every aspect of this admin is so fucked. It's just, I think it's Trump playing hardball as always. What Trump says and what Trump will do are two entirely separate things. That doesn't stop the fact that he is actively normalizing and genuinely wants to do this, by the way. Like, make no mistake, I think Trump, if given the opportunity, would love to do this. Will he be able to do it? I don't know. Not chat being pro-Hamas. Crazy. Brother, it is not October 7 any longer. I don't know what you are talking about here, okay? Like, if you can't comprehend why people would resist against the Israeli apartheid after 16 months of genocide, as the American government that allowed Israel to do this by offering the munitions to do it, while also simultaneously talking currently about the fact that there will be mass ethnic cleansing, a mass population transfer scheme on this existing territory. Like, and you're still like, but what about Hamas? You're out of your fucking mind, dude. Get a new point, please. Hamas is but a name, okay? That's it. That's all it is. It's an expression. It's an expression of Palestinian emancipation. That's it. That's what it is. If it's no longer Hamas, it's something else, okay? It's gonna be something else. And in the past, it was something different than Hamas. It was the PLO. Something that I have maintained that was written about on Fox News as well was the fact that Hamas is the lesser of two evils between Hamas and Israel. It's just the truth. Yeah, I know I covered this earlier. The Egyptian diplomats came out and said Biden said the exact same thing. Biden quietly made the exact same proposals that they refused to abide by in terms of mass ethnic transfer, which is the least shocking revelation of all time. The major difference between Donald Trump and Joe Biden, at least on this issue, is that Donald Trump says a quiet part
Ah,
out
mierda, qué
loud.
rápido está auto.
But American foreign policy, as I've stated, is uniparty. Yeah, 972 Magazine's new coverage also shows that after using bunker buster bombs, they gassed the tunnels and most likely killed hostages in the process. I remember one of the family members in Israel of one of the hostages that was killed was actually demanding an additional investigation, a third-party investigation into how one of the hostages had died, and her suspicion, if I recall correctly, was that he was gassed. Now, 972 Magazine's investigations show that there is a very high likelihood that that is what happened.
¡Uy!
From 1 year ago, a hostage mother says toxic gas from Israeli bombs killed her son. Is she right? This is from January 31st, 2024. From an entire year ago.
Take over Gaza. Our chief White House correspondent Mary Bruce tracking this for us, also from the White House. Mary, good morning.
Whit, good morning. Well, after the president declared that the U.S. would take over Gaza and that the Palestinian people would be permanently...
Why are you even making what comparison? What comparison did I make? I didn't make a comparison. I just told you what happened. I don't even know what you're talking about. You knew what you were insinuating? Are you talking about making a Holocaust comparison? If that's what you're thinking that I'm insinuating? In this circumstance, I was not. Having said that, yes, I have voluntarily made comparisons to Israel and Nazi Germany numerous times over. You must be new here if you think I'm afraid of making such comparisons. Zionism is a fascist movement very similar in its expression of violence to the Nazi movement, okay? We're talking about Israel using chemical weapons and potentially gas on Israeli citizens that are hostages. That is just what is reported on in the news. It seems like you have issues with what Israel is doing. Or maybe you have issues when someone talks about what Israel is doing. If you consider what Israel is doing, which is genocide, to be very different than what the Nazi Germany did.
¡Ay, qué paja! Por 2 segundos,
Also did
boludo.
a genocide.
Ahora saco, ahora saco.
I think you have an issue with just what the truth is. It's not that you have an issue with me. It's that you have an issue with the truth. That's it. You can say crazy about it all day, every day, but it won't change the truth.
be relocated. The White House this morning is struggling to explain what this plan would look like, how this would actually work. Now, this proposal has sparked international outrage, and now some administration officials are seeming to doubt the president's language. The president said bluntly that it was his intention to remove Palestinians from Gaza permanently. But here at the White House, Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt now says the relocation would be temporary to allow Gaza to rebuild, though the administration estimates that could take 10 to 15 years. And she insisted the U.S. would not be paying for that rebuilding. And while the president initially said he was willing to use the U.S. military if necessary, when I asked Leavitt whether American troops would forcibly remove Palestinians or be fighting on the ground in Gaza, she said the president has not committed to troops in the region. And in fact, just now, the president posting that, quote, no soldiers by the U.S. would be needed, saying stability in the region would reign. Now,
nah, que dejate de joder, no tengo 10 segundos, no tengo 10 segundos.
U.S. entanglements and conflicts abroad, but the White House says that the U.S. would not be entangled in the Middle East through this.
No, no lo puedo creer.
The president said, quote, the U.S.
It's just weird because we are already entangled in it. Because without our support, without our bombs and munitions, for example, Israel wouldn't be able to destroy as many parts of Gaza as they have. So to say that we are not entangled in this is ridiculous.
No, de la cuenta en la red social.
¿Tienes solo de arroba, señor Ruedas? Espera, ya me he metido. Hay un vídeo de un perro en monopatín y de gente comiendo dumplings en unas deportivas carísimas. No entiendo nada.
Suerte, Jimmy, éxitos.
Man falsely poses the immigration agent, traps Latino man in a car. I hope he goes to jail. Doesn't Israel have their own arsenal, though? Yes. It's simply not enough to maintain a permanent bombing campaign that reduces the entirety of the Gaza Strip to rubble.
Would own Gaza and would be responsible for dismantling all of the unexploded bombs and weapons there.
So we're going to own Gaza even though we're not going to send any money, we're not going to send troops, and all of the other Arab nations said they're not prepared to take Palestinians.
That is exactly where we stand right now. The president is making this sweeping outline, calling for this plan without explaining how he is going to pull this.
I'm not trying to call you all our promise, but I thought of this from a philosophical position. I feel both have merit. Do you feel in your position that it's more important to call out the tractor talking points and demonstrate how to dismantle them, or to clarify positions for folks who are in the same headspace as you promote? It's both. I do both. Sometimes I do more of the latter, other times I do more of the former. It's important to do both.
Off. They are not committing to putting troops on the ground. They are not committing to spending any money, and they still have not explained by what authority the president would be able to take over this sovereign territory, George.
All right, Bruce, thanks very much.
At the top of the program, we laid out the administration's rewriting what.
Yeah. The reason why I talked about the previous administration's actions earlier when talking about Gaza and how the Trump administration's actions are going to differ from like the previous one was because of this. Because everyone in the United States of America always likes to revert the conversation back to an appropriate vector of anger, drama. Okay? Or YouTube slop tubers that can be drama surrounding content creators. And for obviously liberals who have a vested interest in defending the failure of a candidate and a failure of a campaign that just took place that lost to Donald Trump the second time around, their goal is to obviously deflect blame away from the Democratic Party's ineptitude and away from the campaign specifically, back to a target that everyone can get mad about. Now, it can be the third-party voters or the Bernie bros, or in this circumstance, the radical Muslims in Dearborn, okay? It is their fault that Kamala Harris lost. Very frustrating process, considering that they did play a role in Kamala Harris's defeat, especially in Michigan. They played a very important role, but that issue is not up to the voters. That responsibility does not fall on the voters. Votes are not earned. We exist in a theoretical democracy where votes are supposed to be, votes are not entitled for. They're supposed to be earned. Sorry. Okay? That's the foundational principle of a democratic administration, a democratic form of governance, is that your elected representatives are supposed to represent you. Okay? And in that process, voters are going to extract concessions. But for some reason, people love blaming voters in general and never the campaign. People also love blaming third-party voters specifically. Ironically enough, third-party voters still could not make up for the margin of defeat in many of the states that Kamala Harris lost. So why do Democrats still make this point? Well, because, again, there's a little bit of that the truth doesn't matter attitude on the liberal side of the spectrum as well. This is a very dangerous game to play. This is a major issue for me. The fact that on the right, we've just gone into full tilt denialism and desperately rushing towards alternative reasons that are not born out of the data and just simply hysterical. And liberals play a little bit of that as well on their end. Not good. Okay?
The president said last night about taking over Gaza and remaking it as the era of the Middle East, his words. Regardless of what the people around him say he said it all on camera, and millions of people saw it, including Arab Americans, many of whom voted for him. More from CNN's Jason Carroll now in Dearborn, Michigan.
Days before the last presidential election, Donald Trump was the invited guest at the Great Commodore restaurant in Dearborn, Michigan. Albert Abbas says he extended that invitation, a decision he is now reflecting on, given all that has happened in the last 24 hours.
Many in the community are a lot
Dejate de romper las pelotas.
Last night was a very rough night for most of us.
Abbas is Arab American and one of a number of Democrats who voted for Trump. Abbas says he hoped Trump would do more than President Joe Biden did to help Palestinians suffering in Gaza.
The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip.
But after Trump said Palestinians should leave Gaza so it can be redeveloped, Abbas says not only does he feel betrayed, he's hearing from a number of people angered over his past support of Trump.
People were really, really frustrated.
What's so insane to me is that the Democratic Party saw a 112% swing in this constituency to a guy who set the stage for October 7 to happen, and to a guy who ran on doing the Muslim ban. Okay? Think about how unimaginably bad you dropped that fucking ball. Okay? We say Felford Again Award for many situations. This is one of the few instances where the Democrats basically pushed actively voters from this constituency directly to Donald Trump. Yeah, Donald Trump lied. No shit. I repeated this over and over and over again throughout the campaign, where I said Donald Trump got $100 million from Miriam Adelson. $100 million. If you think that he is going to be good for the Palestinians, you're wrong. As a matter of fact, the reason why he is going to be most likely worse for the Palestinians is because of their ambitions in the West Bank. Because American foreign policy is only uniparty, but it always tacks further to the right when Republicans are in charge, so they increase the brutality. Okay? I mentioned this time and time again. on numerous occasions. But when one party is effectively controlling the pain and death and destruction as the administration in charge, and actively undermining this constituency by basically saying, we don't want you, we don't need you, we can win without you, to prove a point. Okay? And the other party at least has the, I guess, audacity or the decency to lie. Yeah, the voters are going to understandably go with the party that's lying to them, with the hopes that that party that's lying to them is maybe telling the truth. Okay? That's it. This to me is not only a clear indication of the moral ineptitude, the immorality of the Democratic Party, but it also is a major indication of the awful ways in which the Democrats campaign. If you lose to the Muslim ban guy, if you lose the Muslim vote to the Muslim ban guy, and you don't go back to the drawing board and go, how do we fuck up so hard? You want to lose. That's it. It's crazy. You will never understand the desperation that people have when they're seeing their family members be slaughtered on television, when they try to talk to them, and they're being blown to bits by American bombs that they paid for with their taxes. That's just something you will never be able to comprehend. By an administration that you voted for. That's another thing that you have to remember. By an administration that you voted for. And because you can't comprehend that feeling, because you will never be able to understand it, you can be callous in this moment. That's it. Don't do this. And I maintain this position as someone who also said that Donald Trump is most likely going to be worse than the administration prior. Even after the ceasefire negotiation was pushed for by Trump's envoy, Steve Witkoff, I maintain this position that they are most likely gearing up for permanent annexation of the West Bank. But you have to remember that you have to remember where this pain and where this hurt was coming from and who was responsible for it. The Democratic Party actively threw away the easiest gimme of all time. Kamala Harris actively ran towards Biden instead of running away from Biden. Not on just Gaza. Gaza is one issue. It's a significant one, but it's one issue. What is important about Gaza is that it demonstrates a couple things. Okay? It is a microcosm of the problem at the heart of the Democratic Party, which is their inability to listen to the actual voters, no matter how hard, no matter how loud those voters are yelling. Their inability to do the bidding of voters and doing everything they can to defend their benefactors, their corporate donors, their party boosters. Okay? This is it. They were willing and did throw away an election. They threw away an election when all signs and all data readily available showed that changing the trajectory and pushing for a ceasefire actively would most likely have seen at least a 6-point swing in some of the key states. Democrats did nothing because Trump was worse, and Trump won because Democrats did nothing. Yeah. It's that simple. A Harris campaign organizer says senior officials ordered them to erase voters who asked about Gaza, marking emails as no response so they'd be removed from outreach. No engagement, no persuasion, just ignored. The only clowns are the ones who decided to abdicate on this. We also didn't create a new category for Gaza response out of fear that that category would be leaked. Instead, we were told to mark them up as no response. The organizer said, faulting top Harris campaign leaders for failing to address the issue. The only clowns out there are those who were in senior leadership and decided to abdicate on this issue, who silenced the Palestinian speaker of the DNC, who told us to ignore it every time a voter asked us about Gaza. Like, this is a massive failure. Writing this off is throwing away tens of millions of dollars of work. Okay? Straight up. It's akin to lighting $10 million on fire. You understand? When someone goes and knocks on a door and has a direct back and forth, or someone calls someone, a voter, a potential voter, and has this back and forth, and they mark that as like, oh, unresponsive, throw it away, you're literally throwing data away. And you're doing that because you're afraid that if that data leaks, that was the one aspect of the conversation that I had leading up to the election with Pod John, where Jon Favreau basically told me in Michigan that they're getting a lot of calls from Jewish voters who are worried about Israel's, who are worried about the Democratic Party dropping Israel and defending Palestinians. I don't think that was real. I think he felt like he was pushed into a corner because I had actual data, and he just kind of said that. I maintain the position. Look, I have no love lost between me and the Pod Johns, but I think he basically came up with that on the spot. Okay, when we were having that conversation. Because there is not a single piece of evidence that I've seen, and by the way, in the aftermath of the election, this demonstrably was a failure regardless, but there's not a single piece of evidence that I've seen so far, including directly polling American Jews and their opinion on Israel, that said that Israel was the primary issue for them. The only people that Israel is a primary issue for are people that are already voting for the Republican Party. They voted for the Republican Party, and they're going to continue voting for the Republican Party. That's it. She sucked, but are you saying the people who didn't vote were right? It's a two-party system? No. I'm saying that people don't vote on harm reduction narratives. This has been a demonstrable failure now twice around, okay? At a certain point, you can't hope that the educated electorate is going to come out and respond to harm reduction narratives. That is not a way to launch successful campaigns. It has not worked. Ironically enough, in this circumstance, it's not like Kamala Harris was even advocating for harm reduction. On other aspects, maybe, but the harm reduction was packaged in a way where the Democrats were admitting that they were wrong and hypocritical. Like on the issue of the border, Democrats were advocating for a right-wing border bill that Republicans wrote that was basically Trump's agenda from 2020 that they successfully defeated on the issue of immigration. And that basically was an admission that they were wrong on immigration. Why the fuck would anybody vote for you then? On the other hand, yeah, Trump wants to do mass deportations. Is that worse? Of course it is. Trump wanted to do mass deportations. Kamala Harris advocated for Donald Trump's policy from 2020. Which is worse? Of course mass deportation is worse. But in the eyes of the voters, they're not going to look at that and go, well, this is harm reduction. They're going to look at that and go, you said the border wall was racist for 8 years. You called me a Nazi. Now you want to build the border wall? Turns out your fucking ineptitude is the reason why we have a border crisis to begin with, and now you're admitting that. Do you understand? That's it. You can't win elections like this. So I don't know why there are chatters in here. Okay? I don't understand why there are chatters in here who unironically, don't say admitting it's not true. I know, but it looks like they're admitting to fault. That's the point. I don't think it's correct, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the truth is. We're talking about how people vote. We're talking about how people respond to certain messaging. Do you understand? And look, there are plenty in this community, Michael from Pennsylvania, myself, we saw this from a mile away. I talked about how dangerous a gamble this was for Kamala Harris, running around with Liz Cheney over and over again, thinking that she's going to be able to carve out a constituency of white suburban moms that are going to carry her to the electoral victory. It was a failure. She drove away the base. Respond to certain messaging? You mean how you don't respond to genuine critique? I hope the chatters can redirect this one lost chatter to a video where I have addressed 1 million times over the same exact false smears and clips out of context. Not to say that you actually care about the truth. I suspect you don't, because if you did, you could investigate on your own. Are you a man or a bot? Are you a man but a mere animal? That is the question you must ask yourself on this wonderful day. If you are a man that has the capability of independent thought, you should investigate on your own and go directly to the source material and try to figure out if things were clipped in 15-second increments and maybe look at the longer clips on each individual issue that was addressed 1 million times over. I myself have talked about these points of view over and over again, these bad faith smears that I have received for the past 16 months because of my advocacy for Palestinians. There's a video out there on my YouTube page that you can watch called Ethan v. Hassan Piker, or Ethan Klein versus Hassan Explained, from 3 months ago, where I address a lot of the videos that Ethan put in his 1 hour and 40-minute nuke. If you're gonna say the context is wrong and don't actually say that it was out of context, how about you actually explain the context? I have. You're demonstrating that you don't care. Here, I'll give you a quick example. This is just one. What did I do last time to fix my Twitter? It was broken again. What? Okay. What is happening? Let me turn off my... Let me turn it off and turn it on again. Ay, ay, ay. Let's see if it works now. Cute ass dog in the background. She's sleeping. She's snoring. Just give up on political commentary and become a cam model at this point, bro. One, thank you for saying I have what it takes to be a cam model. And two, why would I do that? Here. Chatter was asking for how certain things are clipped out of context. Here, this is a great example. And inbred fucking douchebags in the background,
they're just dudes standing back there.
Entirely comprised of...
And this is an ongoing, like, joke with this community. These are just fucking benign dudes. Just, I don't know what the fuck they're doing. It looks like they're doing charity or something. It looks like they've got water or box.
They're doing charity. Remember, by the way, this is a video that he quote unquote researched for months.
So something like they're helping, and he's going, "Oh, look at these inbred fucks." It's like, bro, who are you? What are you? Who are you? Like, how dare you?
Guys, the Israeli police is investigating the attack on the Gaza aid convoy.
Israeli security forces are paid to stop this happening. They either could not or would not, but clearly did not prevent Israeli settlers attacking an aid convoy yesterday. From the West Bank, bound for Gaza, where, say aid agencies, hundreds of thousands of civilians face famine.
But during the unloading and loading, settlers attacked these trucks, destroying the products and burning them in a systematic act of sabotage.
A continuation of images seen yesterday as settlers destroyed food at the same crossing point.
So, does that make sense? Do you understand now? Every, and I mean every single clip that he used, every single one is exactly like this. Coming from a place where I'm afraid to say the person making this content nuke is not necessarily knowledgeable on the matter and simply wanted to shit sling. And I think to a certain degree, especially in his own community, it did work. It presented him as someone who was genuinely wronged, right? By a radical who scared him. A radical who lied to him. When in fact, I never hid my political perspective. We had a political podcast. Anyway, so I just want, and I mean this in all sincerity, I want him to get better. Like, yes, I definitely have been in my feelings about this sort of thing, but who wouldn't be? This is coming after, 6-7 months of endless begging for deplatforming. Actively collaborating with the likes of Dan Saltman and Sexpestany. But having said that, I don't want Ethan to be sad. I want him to have a healthy, normal stream. I just want him to leave me alone for the most part. I don't think he will. But I think it's just like things are not going to get better for him, and this is his own undoing. And I don't think he'll be able to. I think he's just going to keep increasing and upping the ante and saying more and more unhinged things because he's not thinking clearly in this process. And any kind of statement I make about this, okay, any kind of statement I make about this is not going to reach him in a positive way. From what I understand, he's saying his next nuke that he's going to make another one is going to be spiteful, as though the first one wasn't. And yeah, I don't know if he recognizes that this is his own undoing. But yeah. Where's that one chatter who asked that question? I assume he fucked off immediately after saying. Immediately after coming in and saying, like, this is, Nah, he said some other stupid shit. I mean, that's clearly not the messaging of the video. If you're saying his claim is you scared him, do you have any media literacy whatsoever? Do you think I need media literacy to understand a YouTube drama slop video? Like, what are you talking about? You're making it seem like this is a formative work. It's very clear what the intention of the video is. And also, notice how you move the needle, you move the goalpost. I said that it's out of context. You demanded I describe to you what the context is, and you immediately moved on, and you're like, well, that's not the major point of the video. at a certain point, at a certain point, you have to understand, like, okay, well, if this is incorrect, do you like being incorrect? I guess you do. I guess you don't care.